MedStar Laboratory is one of the oldest and largest independent clinical laboratories in the state of Illinois. MedStar Laboratory is a minority-owned corporation that provides state-of-the-art clinical laboratory services since 1974. Currently at MedStar, we service over 800 medical facilities, including hospitals and assisted living facilities.
MedStar Laboratory's Toxicology Division, Soft Landing Labs, is a leader in drug testing and specializes in servicing behavioral health centers. We pride ourselves in diversity, where 33% of the ownership is women and 80% of the workforce is women. MedStar Laboratory prides itself in accuracy, proficiency, and dependable delivery of quality results by quality professionals.
We provide personalized service around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with professionalism at its best. Thanks to you, we are growing and offering a comprehensive range of diagnostic testing. MedStar Laboratory, your partner for progress and longevity. At MedStar, we treat every specimen as if it was our own.
Hello and welcome to Dr. VGP Talk Show. Hello and welcome to Dr. VGP Talk Show that reaches 42 million households, including 2 million households across America. In this episode of Dr. VGP Talk Show, you're going to meet a legislator of 18 years from the state of Illinois who was born in Cabrini-Greens to a mother, to a teenage mom, and who was brought up by his grandmother and was a teacher, educator, real estate agent, and today the state representative for the 8th District of Illinois, State Representative SHAWN Ford. State Representative SHAWN Ford, in this interview, gives his insights into meaningful legislation which has come to fruition, be it the marijuana legalization, the mental health crisis, and efforts the state and he himself is combating to make a difference, whether it's on the Appropriations Committee for Higher Education for the state of Illinois, which he chairs with a $3 billion budget. Education is the cornerstone for success, sustainability, and humanity. Watch this episode to learn about the innovative ways the state of Illinois and State Rep. SHAWN Ford is focusing on tackling and combating the mental health crisis, the opioid crisis, and trying to bring education to all. Welcome to Dr. VGP Talk Show that reaches 42 million households, including 2 million across America. We are here today in this episode with a person of extraordinary passion, a man who delivers with force to his constituents, a legislator, a people's legislator for the last 18 years, who walks the talk and uses his office to make a difference in every man's life. Meet State Representative SHAWN Ford.
Thank you, Dr. BJ.
Thank you, Representative Ford, for joining us in the midst of your busy schedule. I know we are in the last week of January, getting ready for the Black History Month, and you've done so many exciting things. Tell us, for our viewers, a little bit of your upbringing and growing up days. How was 8-year-old SHAWN Ford?
Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, let me just thank you for introducing me to your audience. It's an honor to be introduced to your audience, and it's an honor to work with you. You're pretty efficient, and so I appreciate that. You're very well prepared, and I really like working with you and your team.
Thank you.
And it reminds me of growing up, how my family was very efficient in making sure that we got things done, living on the west side of Chicago. So, growing up on the west side, I was born over in Cabrini-Greens. You remember?
Oh, yes.
That area right now is all gentrified, and people that were there in the 60s and the 70s probably cannot afford to live there anymore.
Right.
So we moved over to the west side community. Now is Austin, the Austin community in the city's west side, and went to school there, Catholic school for grammar school. Then I went to Catholic high school, Catholic university, studied to be a priest for a year.
Oh.
Ultimately became a teacher for Chicago public schools, and then ended up selling real estate and being a legislator. So I've been pretty blessed to have had the opportunities that I've had in life.
It's very interesting to know that you've grown up to being a teacher and then a real estate and now a legislator. What were your parents? Who were your parents?
You know, Dr. VJ, I never met my biological father. My mother was a teenager when she had me, and she was young. And my late biological mother was young when she had me. So I was adopted by my grandmother. And so I was raised by her on the west side. And it's been a lot of love poured into me from my grandmother and my aunts and uncles and family and community.
A very interesting childhood indeed, Representative Ford. And I think that's what has given you the passion to deliver to your constituents, and with fire in your belly, how you're approaching the mental health situation today, which is across America becoming a crisis. Tell us about what entails in a role of a state representative.
You know, I think it's everything that a elected official or state representative makes it. You know, you could do what the Constitution says is your responsibility, and that is simply to draft a budget, vote on the budget, and make sure that we keep government running. That's our job constitutionally, a budget for Illinois.
And to keep the government running.
And to keep the government running.
That's a huge responsibility.
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility. I mean, you have to make sure that the hospitals,
yes,
the K through 12 schools have funding, the public universities have funding, our roads and bridges are serviced, our public safety is protected. And so all those things are the responsibility of the role that I have. But, you know, you also have the ability to make connections and collaborate with people to make sure that all these different areas flow and service the most people with high quality services. And so, you know, I meet with doctors, I meet with presidents of universities, meet with other elected officials across the country to make sure that we can provide best practices for the people in Illinois.
Representative Ford, you serve as the chairman of a very important state committee, Appropriations in Higher Education.
Yes.
And what is your budget you oversee in that?
We almost have a $3 billion budget
Wow.
for our Pro Higher Ed Committee, which services the public universities in Illinois, like University of Illinois, UIC, of course, Northern Illinois University, Southern Illinois University, Western, and to name just a few. In case I
Governor State
Governor State, Chicago State, yes.
And I mean,
And
that's a
those-
huge, you're making a difference in educating the ones who need the most.
You know, people that go to our public universities are, should be commended for sticking with the state's public universities and making sure that they become a part of our workforce. So much so that as the chair of higher ed approach, we have what you call a MAP grant, where if you need funding for public education, you could get a MAP grant and you will probably go to an Illinois school almost debt free. That's what we aim for in Illinois, to make sure that our in-home residents have what you call a debt-free future for public education. And so we have that. We have an Aim High grant that people are able to realize. It sort of raises the income level, because when you look at the MAP award, you have to be at a certain income threshold. Well, our Aim High raises it so that mostly people that have a sizable income, maybe making $120,000 a year, they will qualify for their children to get the Aim High.
It's very interesting to note that all these funds are available for public education. How did you react as the state's chair on appropriations to the Supreme Court overturning the affirmative action? Wasn't that a big blow to all the minority students?
It's a big blow to higher education itself. Because what the affirmative action did, it really set the framework for what our higher ed community is about. Making sure that we have diversity in our higher ed spaces. Colleges are supposed to be places where you go and examine who you are, change who you are for the better. And the only way you could do that is to have what you call diversity. You cannot come from an environment that's not diverse, live your entire life in a non-diverse society, go to a public university or to a private university, and it's everything that you saw in your community when you were at home isolated. How do you serve as a lawyer? How do you serve as a doctor? How do you serve as a teacher? How do you serve as a anchor on TV? How do you serve the public if you don't have an understanding of diversity? And so to end the affirmative action at this point is premature, because we know that there are still obstacles in the way of people getting into universities.
You have led the challenge on the West Side and beyond on the opioid crisis. You set up a West Side mental health task force.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell our viewers what all initiatives you have done in that direction?
Yeah, so we have the West Side Behavioral Health Task Force that I'm happy to work with you on. We pulled together a lot of the MCOs, the managed care organizations, to make sure that our partners, the providers, have the ability to make sure that their clients are insured and that the providers get paid from the state. So we know that behavioral health is so critical. We often think of only making sure that people's physical health is okay, but we know that you have to have a strong mental and physical health in order for a whole person to be strong. And so we set up this behavioral health task force in conjunction with the West Side Heroin and Opioid Task Force. The Heroin Opioid Task Force is something that we have as well. And what we do with both is to deal with the individual's behavioral health and their substance use disorder. And so between the two, we hope we deal with the physical and mental health of people struggling with substance use disorders.
Representative Ford, one of your initiatives, bold initiatives, I would say, in the mental health field is you are introducing Narcan, vending machines which are available free of cost to the constituents, the people. Could you explain how that initiative came about and what are big benefits for the society?
Well, you know, the Westside Heroin Opioid Task Force that worked very hard for the last 10 years at educating people about overdoses and how to reverse an overdose from being fatal. And so, you know, between the city, the county, and of course, you have been a part of that movement to make sure that we disperse as much Narcan in the communities across the state as possible. And so there's been lots of work done with the task force and with the city to spread Narcan out because we know that it is a sure lifesaver. And so the task forces across the state have decided that they're going to put up vending machines where you can actually get free Narcan for people that need it.
And usually it's given to those who overdose on phenethylamine.
Yes. So if you are a person and you're going to, you're overdosing from fentanyl or some heroin, this Narcan will reverse that overdose and prevent it from being fatal if it's done in time. It's a sure thing. You can't be harmed from it. It will save a person's life.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a TV on TV. There was the maker of Narcan was in one of the cities in America, and he was getting his citizenship. He actually left the swearing in to get his citizenship, and he was driving with his family, and he saw a person overdosing on the street. He pulled over and he saved a person's life.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely.
And it was
Incredible. Incredible.
Yeah. And so we hope that every household, regardless to whether or not you have someone struggling with a substance use disorder, should have Narcan in their house, in their car, in case.
Especially right now in the recent few years and the last few months, 12, 15 months, there's a high incidence of young teenagers succumbing to it.
Oh, Dr. VJ, you're right. I mean,
the suburbs. I mean,
it's the youngest have been 8, but the records show that people as young as 10 years old have overdosed. And you know something? Recently, we've seen where a baby was actually in an Airbnb and was crawling on the floor, and there was fentanyl on the floor, and the baby died.
Oh my God.
And so had there been the reversal of Narcan in that house, the baby's life could have been saved. So it was it was unbelievable. It's powerful. So the baby, whoever was in the Airbnb before the family, they must have had drugs.
Yes.
And it was powder or some residue, and the baby actually died from it.
Very tragic story.
Yeah.
Now, what is the answer to this, Representative Ford? Now, I hear that you and other behavioral health agencies are planning on setting up overdose prevention centers. That means you can take the drugs under supervision. Could you explain that concept?
You know,
it's an international concept.
Yeah, you're right. It's international, and it's done. I visited Canada. And I learned about this overdose prevention site in Canada where people actually bring their street brought drugs in and they use it under supervision, because what we don't want is people to use drugs alone. If you use alone, it's dangerous. And we want to provide a space where people could, 1, come and be protected, 2, come where they could get help if they want to go into treatment, 3, find a job. If they're homeless, we can help them find a home. It's a medical setting.
So a whole triad of services will be offered at that overdose prevention center.
That's right. It's not just a place where you
it's a wonderful system to prevent overdose deaths and death crisis. Now, will the state fund it? How is it going to be a private-public partnership? How long would it take to get off the ground? Do we have an overdose prevention center right now functioning in your district or in Chicagoland?
You know, the state would fund it if we passed the law. Right now, we're working on it. It's House Bill number 2 in the state, and I've been working on this bill for at least 6 years, trying to pass it. Right now, it's federally illegal to use drugs. So law enforcement is opposed because that means that they have to turn a blind eye and recognize that this site here is a place where they're doing illegal drugs. So you have to work with the law enforcement to make sure that they know that this is not just a place where people use drugs, but this is a wraparound service program here. And so we're just waiting right now to pass the law in Illinois to make a pilot in Chicago. There's none in Chicago right now. We hope that we're able to pass a pilot, try it out. If it doesn't work, we could eliminate it. But we know from New York have saved thousands of lives. At least over 1,000 lives have been saved in New York. And by having it. Yeah. And internationally, you will see in Germany, all in Canada, other places, they are lifesavers. It's the number
you love challenges.
I love challenges, but this overdose prevention site, it's the number 1 harm reduction tool that we have.
And it has to be initiated ASAP.
Yes, because more fentanyl is coming in.
Right.
And we need something to combat it to save lives.
Absolutely. And talking about House bills, you are a crown jewel in making innovative House bills. The marijuana legislation legalizing in the state of Illinois was passed with big fanfare, but it was an insightful legislator like you who said, why don't we provide a quota for those who were incarcerated, the marginalized community, to also benefit from this legalized marijuana? And you won a House bill on that, which was revolutionary, created history, and provided entrepreneurship to those who would not have got it. Could you give us a...
You know, the war on drugs really terrorized certain communities and families. And so the state of Illinois was one of the states that actually legalized marijuana and put some guidelines in place to make sure that we had social equity and allow for people that were impacted by the war on drugs to participate in it. So our law said that certain communities that's been impacted had to have a designation for dispensaries to be in there. And people that were impacted with a felony conviction had to be part owner in a dispensary or the business. And so I think that that's great.
That was far-reaching, innovative act.
Yeah.
Which was appreciated by one and all.
Yeah, you know, and it wasn't me alone. It was the state of Illinois, the governor, J.B. Pritzker, and many of my colleagues that understood that if we were going to usher in a legalization of marijuana, that we had to make sure that we didn't leave those that were marginalized,
giving
and
them an
impacted.
economic benefit too.
Yes,
it's very, and I think that worked well. How many licenses have been issued so far in the state of?
Well, it worked well. I think we have about 155 that we're working on, but it's still not working the way it should because we still have a lot of the minorities, women, Black and brown, that's very struggling to upstart because you have to have cash money.
Right.
You know, and in order to open up a dispensary, in order to open up grow facilities, you have to have cash because federally it's illegal and you can't go to the bank and borrow. So right now it's pretty much a white male industry. I don't know, where do they get all the money from? I mean, I'm sure you got a lot of money.
No, far from it. No. Talking about the other aspect, which you're also bringing about now, is trying to regularize mushrooms.
You know, doctor, you should, I don't know how you feel about legalizing. Yeah, there has been, over the years, there's been a lot of negative understanding about mushrooms. the use
They
of
get
it.
high on mushrooms.
Yeah, or right now we want to use it as therapy. We don't want to make it recreational like we
Yes,
have
marijuana.
marijuana. But psilocybin is a proven therapy that's used for behavioral health. And we want to make sure that there are clinical settings where people could actually go in and use the drug to deal with their PTSD. We know that this drug helps people with life-ending diseases to transition better. We know veterans, hospice care. Yes, we know veterans have said that they that this has helped them with the PTSD. We also know that we work with some professional athletes that have brain damage, and they've tried all sorts of medicines, the mainstream medicine, and it didn't work. But when they were able to get the therapy from mushrooms, it actually helped heal them. People that have been known to be suicidal, it's changed their lives. And, you know, Dr. VJ, I believe there are more people using mushrooms than we know. But right now, it's illegal. We need to legalize it so that we make sure that people are protected with the product. Otherwise, people are using it and it's unprotected. It may not be clean.
You are Representative Ford, a phenomenal legislator who's using the process of making bills and legislation to legalize this stuff, which, you know, we don't see, rarely we see other legislators so involved in trying to make a difference in people's lives through these innovative mechanisms. You also ran for the mayor of City of Chicago. And if today you were the mayor of City of Chicago, with the immigrant problems, with your mental health initiatives, what do you think is the real fix for City of Chicago?
This is a golden opportunity for the City of Chicago to fix poverty. I mean, this is a golden opportunity to say that we have an issue with homelessness. We have an issue with behavior and mental health. We have an issue with substance use disorder. We can't look at it as a migrant problem. We can't look at it as, we have to look at it as a holistic problem. And whatever money we spend it to fix Chicago and help everybody.
You see, you just gave such a powerful statement of positivity.
Yeah.
If you ask anybody else, they say City of Chicago is plunged into crisis. There's the immigrant crisis. There's people, businesses leaving Chicago. But I think a lot has to do with your positive outlook, Representative Ford, and from what your actions, which speak louder than your words. I think it's your grandmother's love and upbringing, which makes a huge difference. You know, and your education, because with politicians and leaders like you would make a huge difference in solving crisis by the way you look at it.
Yeah. I mean, this is a look. I think that we also missed the golden opportunity with COVID. You were very involved with COVID. We spent billions of dollars, trillions across the country on COVID. But did we really change the trajectory of people's health? No, we wasted a lot of money.
Yes.
You know, and we don't have to do that with this issue of migration into the country, because Congress will eventually fund the migrant crisis. That means money is going to come to City of Chicago. But if we're not ready to receive it, and if we're going to just use it for an isolated purpose, then we're going to miss the mark.
Absolutely.
Poverty is the problem, regardless to who's here.
You very well said there's a golden opportunity to fix poverty. Now, in your state representative district of the Austin corridor, what are the areas it covers?
Okay, so the 8th district that I've been serving for 18 years plus is the West Side, Austin. Then I have Oak Park, Berwyn, LaGrange Park, North Riverside, Western Springs, Brookfield, Hillside. And so I have a very diverse district, and I enjoy it. It's a real microcosm of the state, and certain parts of the community have the ability to worry about green technology or speed limits, while some people have to worry about poverty and eating or gun violence. So it's a very diverse district.
It's absolutely gives you a fantastic breeding ground to use
To
your
be
leadership.
governor.
Yes, exactly. That comes. You recently visited you're going international too. I see you've recently visited one of the African countries, and I've
Yeah.
said you're doing it for quite some time annually.
Yeah.
Tell us about your international pursuit of how you're making a difference in Africa.
You know, I'm so glad you asked that, because we need to have conversations about Africa, because many people, when you say Africa, people think it's a ugly continent.
Poor poverty.
Poor poverty. It is far from it. And I think that our understanding about Africa must be enriched, because Africa is rich in resources, is rich in culture, and it's diverse. You know, you have people from all over the world living in Africa. And so I think that because we're so connected with the internet, we have a great opportunity to be more connected as human beings, to help one another. There's so much knowledge in Africa,
Absolutely.
in the continent of Africa, and we can use it here in America. In fact, we're working right now on a exchange program with Mauritania.
Mauritania. Where
Yes, that's in Africa
is
too.
that,
Yes.
Is that the country you recently visited?
Yes, recently I was in Mauritania. I've been in Ghana. I've been in Malawi. I've been in many parts of places in the continent. But Mauritania is a very poor country, and they still have what you call slavery.
Oh,
they literally have people enslaved.
You got to be kidding, Representative Ford. This age, they still have.
Yes, and so we've been dealing with a group called abolitionists, and we're going to continue to go there to try to help them with the legal aspects to eliminate the enslavement. And so we start with empowering people mentally. And so what we're doing is going to have with our public universities here an exchange program so that people from Mauritania could actually come to our public universities.
You have such widespread and 18 years of legislative experience. This year is an election year, 2024. What's your take on the 2024 presidential elections?
Well, it's my hope that, I'll be a delegate for President Biden. And so as a Democrat, it's coming to Chicago. The DNC will be here in August. And so I hope that we can, one, listen to the people and look at the needs of the people. And as Democrats, respond to the needs of the people so that we can have a stronger America. So I'm a Democrat, and Democrats help Republicans. Democrats help people that are non-voters. Democrats help everybody. Our policies are inclusive. And so my hope is that the Democratic Party is not only inclusive, but listen and respond to the needs of the people. And I do believe that the best party is the Democratic Party. That's why I'm a part of it. And I know there's going to be a push between probably Biden and Trump. Elections have consequences, and we spoke about the affirmative action being actually ended in America. And how did it end? It ended because Donald Trump as president actually changed it. Yes. And so because he did that, now affirmative action is ended because we have a conservative court. And so my hope is that as a Democrat, that I continue to be a thorn in the Democratic establishment to listen to the needs of the people. The Democrat Party is the best party, and there's room for us to grow. We listen to constituents more than any other party. There's no doubt that the Democratic Party listens to the voters.
Do you think the Israel-Hamas conflict or war which is going on will end soon, anytime?
It's my prayer that that this lives are saved, and that when this conflict ends, that the world is safer. That's my hope. It's really sad what's happening.
We are very fortunate to have who, as I said earlier, walks the talk, whose action speaks louder than words, who's changing the world one time at a time with mental health, and now with his influencing about gun violence. You know that gun violence has a lot of mental health. It all stems from mental health issues, from the drugs issues, and he's tackling these issues to make Chicagoland and the suburbs of Chicago a safer place. State Representative Ford, you're an embodiment of knowledge.
Yeah, that's it.
And so much of action you have given us, and which speaks louder than words. We're yet to see a more phenomenal legislator like yourself, who's making a difference in so many fields, which are so critical to the survival of humanity. State Representative Ford, if you're given an opportunity to take 3 people out for dinner, present or past, who would they be?
You know, I would definitely have to sit at the table with Dr. Martin Luther King.
Okay.
I would have to sit at the table with Bobby Kennedy.
Okay.
And Nelson Mandela.
Great.
I also, you know, if I could get, you know, how everybody always want an extra ticket. You know, I probably would love to bring FDR.
Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Wow. Such a phenomenal. So our State Representative Ford, if given an opportunity to take 3 people out for dinner, it'll of course be Martin Luther King Jr., the Civil Rights King, Bobby Kennedy, and Nelson Mandela, and of course, FDR, Roosevelt.
Oh, you know what? I don't want to strike that, but LBJ, that's who I wanted.
Lyndon Johnson.
He is the one.
Yes.
Lyndon Johnson is the one. I mean, we could take FDR off, but LBJ, he's the one that really pushed the civil rights movement over. Had it not been for him, we would not have had.
I totally agree with you, Chief. Well, how do you spend? Our viewers would like to know, you know, you're having such a busy schedule, going down to Springfield for the sessions, coming back to your expansive 8th district in the Illinois state. How do you spend your spare time? Do you have any spare time? What are your hobbies and what games, or how do you?
You know, I like to watch tennis. I also I don't like to work out, but what do I do in my spare time? Work out. At my age, I'm trying to do everything I can to stay healthy and live healthy and take no medicine. So that's what I like. I like to work. Once again, I don't like to work out, but I have a habit of working out. Great. So I'm very happy that I have a habit of working out. And every day that I do it, I'm like, oh, but I still do it every day.
Great. Excellent. How will you describe yourself in 3 words?
3 words. Well, let me see. Hard-working man.
Okay, or 3 adjectives. Hardworking could be one. What are the other 2 adjectives?
You know, I would say a Christian.
Right.
A very dedicated father. I have a daughter that's 19. She's going to be a teacher. Great. And of course, a family man at large with my entire family.
Great. Representative Ford describes himself as hardworking, a Christian, and a dedicated father. He's the father of a 19-year-old girl who's very pleasant, and we can look forward to as an educator and perhaps in the political.
That's right. Yeah.
As a rising star. In closing, Representative Ford, what would be your message to our viewers?
Yeah, I think the message is to, it seems to be, I think love is important regardless to who you are, and look at your neighbor, look at your brothers and sisters with compassion. You know, it's hard for people to accept what they don't know, but I think that our lives are better when we at least try to get to know people so that we don't judge the book by its cover. I think that makes all the difference. It harms the world when we actually don't get to know our neighbors.
Really wonderful to have State Representative Ford. You're known today as an inclusive leader with emphasis on African American relations and history. Yeah. And we're so happy to have you here and wish you every best and all our support in your career as it rises, wherever the Lord leads.
Yeah, I mean, are you leading me to India? Huh?
Yes, of course.
Look forward to it.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us.